Thank you.
I could.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good on you. Thanks for coming in.
All good.
Okay, Barbara, please.
Either mic? Is it either mic? Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and councillors. This job you're doing was one of my favourites back in the day when I was here, long time ago. My exhibition has two parts, starting with the Arts Centre and the survival of our unique Arts Centre in Christchurch in its present form and functioning form is critical. It is beyond belief that this present council and its advisory staff who work with the council on all matters overseeing the city's sites and artists who work in art fields will not continue to recognise the importance of the Christchurch City Council's financial support for these historic buildings and the citizens, both staff and visitors who work on site. The central city area, described as the arts precinct from the cathedral to the museum, spreads in its unique presence around the backbone of Worcester Boulevard. The restoration work, which has been achieved since the earthquake, is of the highest standards, but like everything else, old will need ongoing maintenance. The hard work and commitment of the management and wider staff needs to be recognised. As a most significant site of endless activities, it brings not only a working environment, but stages events and opportunities for approximately 1 million visitors a year. Overall, every business in Christchurch is facing increasingly difficult times. Every cost centre, from rates to power to insurance, plus salaries and maintenance, is rising. This is most certainly not the time to cease the past support of the Arts Centre. It is the time for the Council to recognise and accept that support in the future for this jewel in the centre of the city is vital. The Arts Centre stands alone and unique not only within our own city, but as a special site for the whole country. It is open most hours of the day and for every season with education and creative programmes. The continuing support of the Arts Centre as presently in place is without question the only way of managing the Arts Centre, not for it to be taken from the work of the Trust. This would be an irreversible change if it came under the management of the Christchurch City Council. There is no doubt that into the future there may have to be another positive rethink of the support for the future of the Arts Centre. Concerning this present annual plan, the community of people working and visiting the Arts Centre and being the appreciative audience of its existence will only grow in admiration for what we treasure in our city's heart. The Christchurch City Council must realise the critical place of the Arts Centre, how it has held long in its centre alongside the many other demands that are obviously coming into this budget. The Arts Centre should remain a constant recipient now and into the future. That's part one. Part two is the Rana Park. I wonder that if Christchurch citizens had known not only about the earthquakes and the consequences, followed by 3 to 4 years of COVID and its consequences, would the city have gone ahead with the major building projects primarily of sports centres and the conference centre? But the city didn't know, and the city did go ahead with outcomes of endless major costs. However, one of the bad and most unfortunate outcomes of all these decisions and bills is that older, unique institutions to New Zealand and Christchurch are now being faced with possible failure, as supported or not by our council because they cannot give them ongoing financial support. Very key support in their purposes, and today I'm talking Arana Park and Arts Centre. Arana Park has made a request for desperately needed finance help for the ongoing funds of $1.5 million to continue running costs for their special animal work. Visitors' income covers only 65% of annual operating costs. Alongside the park being a fascinating and joyful place for families of all shapes and sizes, it is also a world-class zoological facility. In its own special field, it ranks its work with study to increase animal knowledge. It is in its learning field alongside our universities, agricultural universities and other learning expertise for universities and schools. I ask the Council to consider what we would lose without choosing to give Arana Park support. And thank you. I know you've heard that over and over again, but it must give you the feeling that there are a few things that Christchurch citizens absolutely love and would be appalled. They'll stand at the castle gates if you don't give them the support they need, and they work very, very hard. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Kelly? Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. Really interesting. Just in terms of the Arts Centre, we're told that there's 1 million visitors going there a year, and obviously arts facilities are often kind of free. Do you think, like a minimal? Do you think there must be a way for us to get a minimal charge of $2, say, off people?
Are you talking about just walking in and wandering around?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of floating an idea here, because that would sort of, I guess, 1 million people, $2 each, there's the money they need, kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it would be a hard one. I go there often. It's, I'm just looking, as everybody says, they walk into shops. I'm just looking. So there are an awful lot there that are just looking. I grant you that. There are many that are there. It is their business. And they say in their report that they charge, the fair amount. The fact that it's the site of the old house at the Ducks Deluxe, which is being discussed, the deal, I understand, the deal was a request that in the deal was going to be 50 years rent-free. Well, that's why the trust walked away from it and said, no, we'll get something better. What's in the background, I don't know. But that deal from Mr. Sankey was plainly not going to work 50 years for nothing. So I think that as much as they can, they do it. I've never been to a concert there for nothing, except maybe an open-air one that they might have once a year sometimes. So you'd have to, in looking at that question, which is very valid, and that has been a comment that I've heard made, you'd have to look at each cost centre and see, what it is, what is it making. And remember, they all pay rates on what you pay to buy their purchases as well,
Yes.
to be there. So it's not just a straightforward, everything would apply for the same reason.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. It's a hard one.
Rosemary, please.